Hi, Beto. Thanks for coming to my podcast. And yeah, to everyone, Beto is like a very dear friend of mine. We did our masters together at University of Calgary, and right now he's in Mexico. So yeah, Beto, over to you. Why don't you just give a brief introduction and tell how's it going, man? Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. First of all, I
yeah,
think it's a really great space to, try discussing this stuff, and it's great. Thank you for having me. I'm
yeah,
a data developer, so I've been working as a data engineer for a couple of years now.
right.
Uh, Data science, machine learning, and data engineering, a little bit of all of them.
Right.
It's a weird mixture, but yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me, man.
Like it's good that you were interested and you wanted to you came here. So yeah, I know like I already know, but I just want like for the audience because you've had a very good career span in the field of data. You were in data science first, and then you moved into data engineering, and that's kind of a common thing right now these days of where many data scientists want to move into data engineering. So can you talk a bit about that transition and yeah, and just keep it informal. I sound like some interviewer, but yeah,
No, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I think it's a very good format that we have.
yeah,
Uh, Questions and answer. That's great, man. I'm happy to answer everything.
right,
Uh, yeah, well, basically, I was not a data scientist. I First of all, I started with data when I was working somewhere else. I had like a very like a lot of variety on my career.
right,
So yeah, it's kind of different. I'm a mechatronics engineer, so I was working in something else totally unrelated to data.
right,
Uh, then I moved to a bank, Mexican bank, here in Mexico City.
right,
And that's how I started. I mean, the rest is history. I started working as a data scientist, and then a machine learning engineer, and then a data engineer, then again data science. So it's been a mixture. But as you say, a lot of people are moving into data, not just data engineering, but data in general. I
right,
think, I mean, you are another example, brother.
yeah,
Uh, from chemical area.
yeah,
So now you're a data engineer. I mean, it's great. Honestly, I agree. I think that's something very common in the market right now. We
right,
all know that data and data related stuff is very, very on demand
right,
and has a great pay.
yeah,
And it's a very nice place to land and to, develop your professional skills.
right. Yeah, that's rightly said. And someone in general, right? Because like data engineering, like you would know more, but it's mostly about dealing with a lot of tools like AWS, Snowflake, and all that. So do you think it's recommended for someone who's fresh into data science, who has done, suppose like us, like somebody who's done a master's in data science, to get a job in the data engineering field straight away? Is it easy? Because I feel it's still around a niche category, data engineering, and you probably need some experience to break into data engineering. Is it the case? Because you already had some data science experience before moving into data engineering, right?
Yeah, that's right. When we met at master's degree, I
Yeah,
already had experience in both data engineering and data science,
right,
and a bit of machine learning.
right,
So yeah, I kind of knew how was the market, what were the expectations of each role,
right,
and yeah, I mean, it was kind of cheating, because I already knew. I mean, you remember some homework that we had, some take-home assessments and stuff. It was like common to me to do that in production environment. So,
right,
the task was not really that hard. Um, so yeah, what I would say is that I would try to, if I could do it again, I would definitely land into data engineering
right.
because I mean, I love data science, I love machine learning, I love neural networks and LLMs and stuff.
Yeah,
But the thing is that many of those, let's say, models
right,
are a black box, right? So you don't really know what's going on. There are a few attempts right now at the moment to counterback that. But in general, it's a black box, right? So you basically set the structure for the model, And
Right.
the model learns, and the model gets or arrives to the best parameters that you can possibly have, and you kind of tune them. And but basically, the model is like its own thing, right?
Right.
With and you don't have like a lot, or in my humble opinion, in my infinite ignorance, you don't
Yeah.
have a lot of tools
Right.
compared to data engineering. In data engineering, you get to understand stuff like networks, right? How do you connect to a new server
Right.
other side of the world?
Yeah.
And that's something you never do with data science, right? Data science and machine learning starts with the data already cleaned, already in CSV format,
Yeah.
no values, no missing cells and stuff.
Yeah.
But engineering is getting you to that place, right? Where data is perfect, it's clean, and you can start working with it.
Yeah.
So everything behind it, behind building the data and cleaning it, it's a whole freaking world, and you get to understand and you get to see a lot of things on the back end,
Right.
on the background, I mean.
Right.
Uh, so you get to understand a lot, like networking, web development, APIs, databases, uh, and software development, because you don't just create your steps, your algorithms to pull back data and stuff. You
Right.
have to think about, I think, asynchronous connections,
Right.
uh, the logic behind it to be efficient and to not clog the pipeline,
Yeah.
basically. So I think it's a little bit of a bigger world.
Right.
Again, my infinite ignorance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more, it sounds more like somebody who's done a bachelor's in maybe software engineering, like a core computer scientist. I think data engineering will be a good field to break in, right? Because from what you say, more of networking, more of handling databases and uh, all that, right? Like somebody with
Yeah, right.
software background, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I got the chance. I mean, I consider myself really lucky because
Yeah.
at some point in my career, I was working as a data scientist,
Right.
but I already had background in data engineering and machine
Right.
learning. So
Okay.
I already understood what is the process for them to bring me the data, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I was working with, I don't know, CSV files.
Right.
Those are like super common. Everyone can open them in Excel or Google Sheets or
Exactly. Yeah.
whatever. And I started working, developing some models and algorithms.
Yeah.
Uh, I already knew like the whole process behind it to get me that CSV file, right?
Yeah.
So like that little bit of an advantage, I think it was the difference
Yeah.
in my career,
Hmm.
to understand it, because it's really easy to say, yeah, import from the geographical data, just
Yeah.
the countries data, right?
Yeah.
So population, the age, and it's really easy. Just import, I don't know, I think it's in Matplotlib, or
Yeah.
I don't remember the library that has the data embedded on it. So it's really easy to get it, right? And it's already clean and whatnot.
Yeah.
Hard stuff is sorry, it's in scikit-learn. So if you go to scikit-learn, you can get the data from that library, from that
Yeah.
package.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really easy, man. But there was a dude like
Yeah.
myself who was
Yeah.
working tirelessly to get that data into a nice format, or nice binary format,
Right.
to get the package. So yeah, I mean, if you are able to understand a little bit beyond what your current area is,
Right.
huge difference. I would say it's a enormous advantage.
Yeah, it's more about because when you work for big companies, almost everything is there on the cloud, and data engineering is a lot about dealing with cloud tools like AWS, Snowflake, and uh,
Docker, Airflow,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And yeah, and what you said is totally right. Like getting in terms of just getting the data magically in a CSV, but there's so much background work in getting that data, right? Either from APIs or AWS. And it's like, sometimes people kind of underestimate the value of getting good data. And yeah, having a good data pipeline, I feel it's like underwear, man, because you almost don't feel the discomfort until things go bad. When things are nice, you don't get appreciated, but the moment it gets bad, you almost people are after you. So it's like underwear. So yeah, that's rightly said. And having a good data infrastructure is the thing, man. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, well, I want to touch upon yeah Dockers, dude, because I remember last year when we were playing football and you told me about Dockers and I saw your excitement, but I hadn't used much. But you were using it that time, and now I'm finally using it. Man, it's so cool, dude. It's like running your own computer system in an environment. And now I've been telling you, right? I've been working on Linux and just having containers. It's a magical thing, man. Yeah. So you want to talk about Dockers a bit? Yeah. So
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely, man. It's effing magic. It's
Yeah,
pure magic. I would just describe it for anyone who may not be aware of what Docker
right.
is a way for you to create like a separate environment in
Right.
your own computer with your own or any kind of server with
Yeah.
your own dependencies with its own OS. So it's basically the term is containerized,
Right.
but gives you like a huge flexibility because you have like basically all of the OSs in the world, like Windows, you can have Mac, you can have Linux, you can have Alpine, you can have Ubuntu, you can have Debian, Fedora.
You're right.
It's crazy, right? So it's basically a space in your memory, both storage and computing for you to install a small OS, a small operative system with
Right.
just its kernel. So
Right.
basically, kernel is it's the soul of an OS, and
Right.
it's the only thing you need to run everything. So it's freaking crazy because one of the issues I faced at some point in my career was like, hey, the code runs in my computer. Why is it not running in yours? I mean,
Yeah.
probably my developer fellows have encountered that same shit.
Right.
So Docker, cleans that shit up because you can have like the OS you want, you need all the dependencies, and you define it basically with a cooking recipe. So
Yeah.
it's just a structured file that it
Right.
says, I want these OS, these dependencies to run this program. And that's it. That's basically the whole idea behind it. And that recipe, you can share it. It's just a text file. It's a literal recipe.
Yeah.
So that file, you can instantiate, you can create your own environment with your dependencies
Right.
and totally totally usable with absolute connectivity to other containers.
Right.
And yeah, that's the main idea behind microservices. I was telling this guy to use it back in the day when we were the masters. He was like, yeah, 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 I'll do that later. But
Yeah.
now he's a freaking fan, and I want to make sure of it. Docker is not sponsoring us, but
Yeah.
we love it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It is, dude. Yeah. And I was actually like, now that I'm so fascinated, I was just checking about the history. It was actually open sourced by Google a few years ago. And Google had been using it for years. And until they open sourced it recently. So that goes on to show like companies like Google, Microsoft, they might be using way more advanced tools than we know. They just haven't open sourced it yet.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it actually the history of containers goes way back, like probably in the 90s or even
Right.
before, as
Right.
far as I know that.
Right.
Uh, so but the issue was that containers have been existing for a long time, right? But the orchestration tool and the whole management on the
Right.
back end of that
Right.
is Docker. That's what Docker is so popular because it manages everything, not just a container. Create a container in your computer is fairly easy. You just need like a bash script and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Um, but to manage that,
Yeah.
that's what comes in.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. That's the previous step for Kubernetes,
Yeah.
which I think that's something another tool that Google was using back in the day, and then they open source it again.
Right.
So Kubernetes is a way to handle and to manage Docker containers
Right.
like automatically. So yeah, it's like a next step. But honestly, I would suggest that Kubernetes shouldn't be used unless you really have to, because it's not easy to understand and to use and to maintain. It's
Right.
very complicated. It's also great,
Right.
but it's really complicated, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would suggest to any of our viewers to only use Kubernetes or K8s when it's strictly necessary, right?
Yeah. 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 Nice. It was talking about Dockers, and I want to now move on like for people who are early into their careers, and I want to talk about networking in general. How did you networking with regards to jobs? So how I see networking, right, for someone who's fresh out of college, I believe the impact of networking isn't that much. So in a sense that if you're applying for a job and you send a message to the HR and okay, I applied and I did this, I did that. I believe it doesn't work if you don't have like 4 or 5 years of experience. I think your message might get ignored. This is my personal opinion and what I've heard, but I think one should focus more on creating a good application than focusing on networking in the early stages of their career, because yeah, the HR is mostly looking to fill in the what job application do you satisfy the job description, right? So instead of spending too much time in networking events and I think you should focus more on your skills. If but if you're someone with 4 or 5 years of experience, then it totally makes sense to expand your network and approach people and all. So what do you have to say about networking? How did you approach that when you were early on
Yeah,
in?
I have a little bit of a different opinion in that regard. I would say networking pays off
Yeah,
uh, on the long run.
right. Yeah,
And it's not going to, I mean, because if you're fresh out of college,
yeah,
your friends are
yeah.
also fresh out of college, right?
Right, right. Yeah,
So I mean, it makes sense that any of your friends can help you
yeah.
because all of your friends are in the same place like you, right?
Right, right.
So I would say networking pays off
Yeah,
in like years. That happened to me. We can talk specifics if you want,
yeah,
but I would say networking is just a consequence of like a good state of mind. I mean, if you have like a nice and easygoing personality and you work on your relationships, you are going to be networking before college, right?
yeah,
Because networking is with your friends, with people you know, but
yeah,
people you know are not going to remember you
yeah,
if you're a moron, right? If you're like totally closed or like
yeah,
super pretentious guy,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
arrogant, egocentric, right?
yeah, yeah,
So networking should be like a state of mind, I would say. I mean, it sounds like really
yeah.
cliche, but
Yeah,
uh,
but I'm a networking, in the sense of in that particular sense where you're a fresher, you're straight out of college. So instead of focusing more on your job application, instead of polishing your resume more, you're after recruiters and messaging them and all. And because I've seen messages like posts on LinkedIn where recruiters mostly say, okay, like don't message me, just apply for the job role and I'll have a look. So in that sense, what do you think? Like,
yeah, I think it makes sense. I should also mention that market in Canada and
yeah,
I would say mostly the same in the US,
yeah,
uh, compared to Mexico is totally different, right? Technologies and technology adoption in
yeah,
North America, I mean US and Canada,
right,
uh, because Mexico is also part of North America, but in North America, in Canada and the US, technology adoption has been running for years. So
right.
you guys have like a decade or
Yeah,
so that has been adopting new technologies. So the
right,
market there is a little bit more mature than Mexico's.
right.
Uh, so it's quite different. I think you remember I mentioned this when we were out of the masters.
Yeah,
Uh, I would be applying to roles that
yeah,
had posted 2 hours ago,
yeah.
and there were already 400 or 500 applicants.
Right.
That
Right.
that's crazy, man. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yes.
it's insane. It's insane to even get a reply.
Yeah.
So I agree. Networking in that environment doesn't work at
Yeah.
all. You should be working on yourself,
Yeah.
doing projects, working with, playing around with Docker,
Right.
containerizing everything because surprise, surprise, nowadays everywhere is using Docker.
Right. Yeah.
Everywhere you need uh, an isolated environment for your stuff to run,
Yes.
right? So Docker, my friends, my fellow viewers,
Yeah.
it must. I mean, it
Right.
should be on everyone's resume, right?
Yes.
I agree, man. Networking in this market is kind of crazy, and
Yeah.
it's not really working. It's
Right.
going to be working probably for you in a few years, for you, for my fellow viewers, in a
Yes.
few years. But right now, you should be working on yourself. Get a job,
Yeah.
I need to get that stability, that very much needed stability, and
Right.
work by yourself on weekends. I mean, don't go out like every Friday or twice a week.
Yeah.
Dude, still work.
Yeah.
Stay at home, work on yourself,
Right.
prepare your resume. Do this stuff. That's gonna make the difference. I
Yeah.
mean, just consider the situation. You're just out of college, yeah, right? Fresh out of college.
Right.
Who would you hire? The guy who perfect grades, let's say, for instance, but with nothing else?
Right.
Like, have you developed something? Do you have a web page? I mean, did you know that it's actually free to have a web page? A
Yeah.
very nice looking web page.
Right.
Um, Do you have a web page? Do you have a resume? Do you have a portfolio that you can show off to the recruiter? Do you
GitHub.
have a bit of experience on yourself? Like in technologies that are actually used in the market, not just like your hello world or I'm
Yeah.
gonna make my a bank with Python in
Yeah.
programming in that programming language and that's it. That's my portfolio. It's like, dude, no. Try
Yeah.
to start up a database in Docker and then contain it, connect it to another Docker container and make it
Yeah.
communicate and create an API or create a front end.
The cloud. Yeah. Use cloud to work on
Yeah,
end-to-end projects, industry projects. Use cloud because everyone uses the cloud. Have that on your resume
yeah.
instead.
AWS is for some stuff basically free,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
can create
You told me. I
stuff.
was asking you. Yeah.
You can play around with a few Lambda functions. I mean,
Right.
that's freaking free. I
Yeah.
mean, you can do it. You can play around with S3 buckets.
Yes.
I think 5 gigs of storage is free. I
Yes.
mean, Docker, yeah, Docker, AWS Lambda, and S3,
Yeah.
do it right now, right
Exactly.
after
Yeah.
you,
So yeah,
right?
for example, some like one guy is applying to a job and he is a fresh grad. Again, not an experienced guy. He has a basic resume, but he has messaged the recruiter, "Hey, I'm applying. Am I apply? Hey, I love to know you." Blah blah blah. Versus another guy who has a good resume, who has done a end-to-end project that uses Docker that has been deployed on the cloud. Who's going to get a call? It's obvious because the resume is going to be looked at the hiring manager, who you're going to work with, right? So if he sees all this, obviously you're going to get the call. So yeah, like for someone who's starting afresh, I believe, yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
but I mean, circle back. I want to circle back with the question
yeah,
at hand.
yeah,
Like networking, it paid off in my case at some point.
definitely,
Many years after I finished college.
yes,
So I have this friend in a tech consultant company.
right,
So we met at high school. Basically, we spent high school together. We're very good friends. We're still seeing each other.
right,
And when I moved back from Canada,
right,
basically he was like, "Hey, why don't you share your resume with me?" And I
right.
sent it to him, and that's networking right there. I got the job, man. I landed the job, so it pays off, but probably not in the short run.
Exactly,
It's
yeah,
for years.
yeah, and because yeah, as you said, your friend, there are quite a good number of people who will go out of your way to help you. So you never know who you might find or who you might run into.
Yeah,
So
that's why I was saying that you should be very friendly and
yeah,
easygoing with everyone, not just because of networking, but
right,
networking is going to be a consequence, like an incidental situation. If you are like easygoing, nice to have guy, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
it shouldn't be that hard, I
yeah.
guess.
So when it comes to networking, I want to just touch upon that. Like sometimes, like I know you remember the incident, but don't want to go deep into that. So even when we go for these informal events, and there'll be some fresh grads coming to you and asking, I think they would have probably scanned your LinkedIn profile, and I think in the wake of networking, they'll try to get too much into your profession. Okay, what database did you use? Was it SQLite or SQL 100 pounds, whatever? What cloud tools did you use? What projects did you like? Kind of intruding into your professional life, right? That gets way too much. Okay, I get that you're curious, but there should be a limit, right? I remember like last time we were meeting and you're like, man, just get my GitHub, don't trouble me. I've come. So
Bro, this is my GitHub.
yeah,
Go, have
don't
fun.
worry. Okay, I get that you want to learn stuff, but enough, yeah. So it gets kind of way too much at times, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, man. It's like, honey, if you really want to learn,
Yeah.
Just do it. Just learn. Just follow
Yeah.
the tutorial on Docker webpage, main page, and that's it, man. And then
Yeah,
you
that's
start
like,
building
yeah,
stuff.
you're taking
That's it.
networking way too seriously. You're intruding someone. So yeah, you should avoid that maybe if you're going to meet someone or yeah. And yeah, what want to circle back to one of like early stages when you're in your career. So there are times when you have to go with rejections or not even in a career, even in your personal life. So generally, with when you have to deal with pain or whatever, how do you deal with that? Because I was recently like doom scrolling on YouTube and I saw one shot of Jensen Huang, and he said that suffering. He said that I hope suffering happens to you because suffering makes a strong character. And he said the majority of the products that have great people have built has been a product of intense suffering, intense rejections. So what do you have to say about that? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I would only have to share this little detail. Probably not suffering. Suffering is not great, but
Yes.
pain. Probably pain. I mean, pain is um unavoidable in life, but
Yeah.
suffering is not,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
I mean, you can avoid suffering. You
Right.
can avoid to suffer, but not pain.
Yeah.
Pain
Agree.
is everything in your life, and you get to decide if you suffer about it or
Yeah.
don't, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I agree on the idea. Harsh environments build tough characters, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I agree on that part, but again, I would say there are many factors for you not to land that job, for you not to get that call, for you not to make that money,
Right.
right? At some point, for some people, it all comes down to money, right?
Right. Right.
Let's say, but remember that you only have to succeed once.
Exactly. Yeah.
Things are not easy. Market is crazy. Inflation is getting like crazy high.
Right.
There's a couple of wars right now in the world.
Yeah.
Uh, so you just try to be aware of that. That if it you don't get the job, it's probably not because of you. It's
Right.
like a whole environment, and I would suggest that for people to read the news, try to investigate and to research and what is going on with the world right now. What's the Pope doing? I mean, you're probably Muslim or you're probably, I don't know, Christian or you're yeah, but the Pope is kind of a political figure, right? So if you are aware of that, I mean, this was just an example. I don't want to be
Yeah.
mis with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably if you don't land the job, it's not you, it's the freaking market, right? So don't be too harsh on yourself.
Right.
Again, keep working, try to grow, try to level up your skills
Right.
and move on. You
Yeah.
only have to land one job at a time. If you're crazy, like some people I know, you can land two or three, but that's insane. Uh, but you only have to succeed once, and you're
Exactly.
gonna get rejected a lot.
Right.
But that's not a reason for you to stop working on yourself and growing your skills.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, and be patient with yourself, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah, know that like it's temporary. You it might take you 10 days, 20 days, 1 year, 10 years, whatever, but it's not permanent. Like everything is temporary. So like same for me also, because when I was looking, I remember like I was not getting anything. And there's one day I think we were there at Haskell, and I was having some class and I got two rejections on call that day. And I was like so emotionally drained. I remember I was waiting, vividly remember.
Brother, honestly, you were lucky to
Yeah,
get those rejection calls because just ask people,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
How did you realize you were rejected?
Yeah,
They just ghosted me.
yeah,
They had like the little detail to
right.
give you a call, right? You were lucky, brother. I mean, in my opinion,
Yeah,
you know you get rejected by they just are not replying anymore. They just don't respond.
yeah.
So honestly, that was a good deal for you,
Yeah,
bro.
like for like my internship, yeah, like I got these like one day I got two calls, and then after a week I just landed the best possible internship I could ever imagine. So it just like takes like sometimes it might take longer, it might take quick, it might happen quickly, but yeah, things just change. And yeah, be prepared for that. So yeah, man, I want to just conclude like what my last question kind of about people or life in general. So I want to ask like attributes generally do you like about a person or a or society, or yeah, and what you don't like? So if you, for context, I'll first say like about my thing. What do I look for in a in a person or in society or in any friendship, whatever. So so that you can get some background. So what I look for is generally like sacrifice. I think like people I feel who kind of know how to sacrifice. I think they are the purest people of all, because and those are the people I think you should be friends, like who should be your target, this thing, because they know, because I think it's a very divine thing to sacrifice. And yeah, even because like I've been reading a lot of stuff, you would know. So even in like I've been reading the like Bhagavad Gita and all that, they're also like they have explained like many yogas, and the central theme of all the yogas is also about like sacrifice. So there's one yoga which is the yoga of action, which says that you have only right to your duties but not to the results. So you're sacrificing the thought of what results will you get. And then there's another yoga which is the yoga of devotion, meaning love towards God. So again, unselfish unconditional love towards God. And then there's another yoga which is like raja yoga, which is like complete meditation, stop this worldly tinkering and just focus on what's there. So you're sacrificing your thoughts about the world, and it goes on and on and on. So yeah, what yeah, that is one thing that I look for in that I really value in the society or in a person, or in relationships in general. So what do you value, and what do you think? Yeah, it's kind of a
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
dude, you just touched like 1,000 points I would love to develop.
yeah,
But yeah, now that you mentioned it, what I first not see, not like look for, not like want,
right,
but just perceive, but just like sense in people. Because I think I've told you a couple of times that I kind of have like a sixth sense.
yeah,
I kind of feel people, right? I kind of feel like
right. And
uh yeah. You get like the idea or what's going on, like the vibe this person gives you.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I'm kind of good at that.
right,
So what I would only look for is people who vibes like me, right? Like gives like a good energy, like I believe mine is.
right,
Uh, because I firmly believe that you eventually uh find your own pack, like your own group. So
yeah,
at some point in your life, you're going to find friends who are like you.
yeah,
That's a natural event, right? That's a natural phenomena.
right,
So if you again, if you focus on yourself, if you try to grow, if you try to be a good person, and as you say, you meditate, you actually witness life and think about it, and you try to go into philosophical stuff,
yeah,
at least a little tiny bit,
yeah,
you're going to grow,
yeah,
right? Because in the end, your job, your car, your watch, your computer, your clothes, your house, your it's just like inconsequential, right?
yeah, totally, yeah. Just going
It-
to
It's absolutely
yeah,
uh, senseless, I would say. It doesn't really matter.
right,
What matters is what kind of people you know, what kind of sensations you feel throughout your life, which hopefully most of them are pleasant.
right,
So if you are in a good state of mind, you're going to find people who is also in a good state of mind.
correct,
Regardless, like in this case,
yeah,
if they're from other continent, from a totally different culture and
yeah,
totally different religion, like
yeah,
guess what? The
yeah,
two people here in this video, right?
yeah,
And independent of that, these
right.
people can get really, really good friends, brothers even. I mean, they actually get to realize they were brothers, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because I
Right.
vividly remember the first time we met, then also it was, yeah, you're right about the vibe. I instantly felt something. Yeah, it was something was there. So, yeah,
Yeah, I agree. So what's most important for me in other people is like that they get to buy with me, and
yeah,
that's it, because I know I have my defects, but I'm also a good guy. I mean, I think I'm a good person. So if I get to interact and to have to build a relationship with someone,
right.
that relationship grows and continues,
Yeah,
then I know that person is a good person.
right.
It's a good human, right? Because I
Yeah,
believe I'm a good human, and we get to get in sync with
Yeah.
someone like this. So that's it, man. I mean, everything else is just details, right? So it's like getting a car and you I want it in black, or I want it with a bigger wheels, or I want a Bluetooth stereo instead of FM radio or
Yeah.
whatever, right? But that's just details.
Right.
Uh, Again, this person, whoever you're building a relationship with,
Yeah.
can be Muslim, can be from other country, can be from a different planet, can be from whatever age you want. I mean, you can befriend someone who's 80
Right.
if that's the right person.
Right.
I mean, I don't see why not. Or someone who's 12 or 6
Right.
again. I
Right.
mean, it all of this, all that you can see and touch is just a layer,
Yeah.
and a very important layer.
Yeah.
So I would say so, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that that we don't like about let me go first. So I'll say, like, I don't like competition. I think we have been like since childhood we have been to view everything through the lens of competition. Okay, he's doing this, so I have to also do this. He's doing that, so I also do that. I feel that in doing that we kind of fail to express our own uniqueness, because I feel like everyone is unique. But when you compete, you lose that side. Like for example, like if somebody were to, even in the case of startups, so if you're trying to build a Uber or whatever, you can possibly copy the idea, but you can't copy what's underneath, like what the culture is, what the underlying background is. So yeah, I don't like competition as such. What do you have to say on that? Like, what are things that you?
I think at some point it's inevitable. I would say some of the consequences of competition is that you get everyone and everyone's uniqueness into the same box.
Right.
So you standardize everyone. Like, let's say you're running a 100-meter race, right?
Yeah.
Um, so all of the runners
Right.
should be like very highly trained with years of experience, and so it's all very standard, right?
Yeah.
And an inherent, I would say, consequence of competition is that you are the same, right? You're treated the same.
Right.
And it takes away that uniqueness, that identity that you were mentioning, and it's not good. It's inevitable. At some point, you're going to have to compete with someone for
Yeah.
something, like
Right.
running a race or getting a job or something, right?
Yeah.
But again, I would say that's only temporary. That's not
Yeah.
the idea, right? At some point in my career, let me tell you this real quick. I was just looking for the money, right? Just like, yeah, I want to understand this, and I'm gonna be the CEO, the top tier executive and manager and stuff. So I went from job to job, just looking for money,
Right.
right? And that did not end well. I would say it's very stupid to find the money in a economy
Right.
that promotes uh, extinction of other companies for
Right.
you to thrive. So
Yeah.
there's no company in the world right now in this kind of economy
Right.
that doesn't survive on the expense of someone else getting to bankruptcy,
Right.
right? So if your company doesn't grow and doesn't consistently grow,
Yeah.
like if it doesn't grow even more than the last year,
Mhm.
your company will die.
Yes. Yeah.
So that is a consumption economy, because let's see the stocks from Google, right?
Yeah.
The stocks from Google have never went down. If a company's stock goes down,
Right.
company dies.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the economy is based on everything getting more and more and more and more and more. And you know what that kind of behavior is?
Yeah.
That's cancer.
Mhm.
If you get a cell that never dies
Right.
and only consumes,
Right.
that's the definition of cancer.
Yeah.
So it's not intelligent for you to only search for money, because basically you are producing cancer on yourself, right? That's one main idea. I agree that there's basic needs that you have to cover.
Right.
Keep in mind that this kind of economic system that we live in uh, is cancer. It's
Yeah.
it's time bomb. I believe I told you this at some point. I believe things are going to go to hell at in a very um, fast manner, in a very swift manner, very very soon. But again, going back for money is not idea is not ideal. You should try to grow on yourself,
Correct.
communicate with people, connect with your brothers and sisters, and everything in between. And yeah, I mean that's it. In that same line, I would say the most devastating disease,
Yeah.
illness that we have as mankind is the brain diseases,
Yeah.
the things that make you forget.
Yeah.
You are your memories, you are your experiences. And if you get, I know, Parkinson, and I don't remember the name of the
Yeah.
disease, and you get to forget your
Yeah.
stuff, man, that's
Right. Yeah.
really, really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would rather get cancer than something that with my mind, honestly. Yeah, because I mean, the important thing is right here and right here, right? I don't
Exactly.
see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my opinion, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It was, I think we had a good time chatting. It was pretty organic conversation that we had. We just expressed ourselves, and that's what I try to do here. And yeah, thanks for joining me, dude. Probably we'll connect sometime soon. And thanks for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. And we'll connect soon. See you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a nice time. Thank you for having me, man.
Thanks,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah. See you soon.